Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Born Podcast, brought to you live from our studio here in central Pennsylvania. I'm your host, Nathan Imboden, and on this show, we get to champion the message of entrepreneurship and business ownership by interviewing business owners and leaders right here in our backyard in central Pennsylvania. We like to say we take a peek under the hood to learn what it really takes to run a successful organization. You can find a full replay of all our broadcasts on our website at questmont.com/bornpodcast. Also, if you want to find us on social media or any of your favorite podcast apps, just search for The Born Podcast. Hit that like and follow button so you can stay up to date on all our episodes, get really great tips and tricks from all of our guests, and hear really cool stories each week that we get to bring these amazing entrepreneurs on. And today is no exception. We've got my man, Jared Mizrahi, who is the man, the myth, and the legend, I would say. Jared owns PCI Auction Group. He owns a med spa. He owns a high-end training facility. Do some little marketing on the side. I'm sure there's many other things that I also don't know about that feed the pockets as well. But
Sure.
We are just pleased to have you on the show, and I think it's going to be a good one, everybody. Buckle up. It's going to be entertaining. There it is. So, Jared, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is so incredibly official. It's crazy.
Well, we figure if we're going to do it, we better do it right.
I appreciate that.
Do it right. So why don't you give our viewers a little background on maybe on Jared, but more specifically on your journey and story into entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So it all started when I was 14 years old. And my favorite thing to do was to go out onto golf courses and collect golf balls, aka that white gold. And by that time, I had amassed thousands, and my mom was like, "What are you doing with these golf balls?" So I got the idea at that time to start selling them on eBay. And I said I was 22, and I got some help with my parents to link up bank accounts so I could actually do it. And it just exploded from there. From going from doing that to what else can I buy and sell, to selling everything in my parents' house. And then, the word gets out that you can sell on eBay, and then I got a line out the door of all of my parents' friends, sell all this stuff for me. And in my non-entrepreneurial world, my goal was to become a teacher. And I was a high school math teacher for a few years. And so in that same vein, I started to consult for businesses and teach night school classes on how to sell on eBay, and then I went to college, and again kept going through that same thing. Still worked my side hustle. I came home every weekend to ship out all the stuff I had sold on eBay that week. You know what I mean? And just really went crazy trying to find cool stuff to buy and sell, or to sell on consignment through eBay. Moving down the road in terms of sourcing stuff, I started buying storage units like you see on Storage Wars, which is a fake show, unfortunately. I've been on the set of Storage Wars. No, I mean it is a legitimately. I witnessed the fakery, and it was a sad time. Yeah. It was a sad time.
Was that did you go into it thinking it was real, and then it was just the great revelation of fakeness presented itself?
So I'll tell you the quick story. So I ended up going to one of their auctions in LA, and it was a storage unit that just had a fire. So it was really interesting because a bunch of the storage units were cut open, but they can't sell the stuff because it's not, the people are paying their bill. Right. So really interesting setup, and they messed up the permits to film the show. So the show didn't get filmed. So the people on the show were there, and then they left before the auction started because the permits didn't come through. So really, guys? And this is an interesting auction, right?
Yeah,
I'd want to see all the stuff that I saw, right? So that part of it is just they're not really there to do it,
right?
So that was kind of sad. But my journey started in terms of buying storage units prior to the show, and then when the show came out, prices for storage units kind of went crazy, but I could still find the right storage units to make money. Fast forward, I graduate college, get a teaching gig. Still running my side business. At one point, I hire former students to like work, my little eBay business during the day while I'm teaching, or go pick up whatever I bought that night at auction. Whatever the case was, and so 3 years into teaching, my first year, my first day of summer vacation, I was so excited because there's always storage unit auctions usually happen during the school day, so I can never go.
Right.
But first day of summer, I'm like, yes, I'm going to storage. All the teachers are like, I'm getting some sleep. I'm like, I'm making some money. Let's go. So I checked my list, and there weren't any storage unit auctions that day, but there was a restaurant equipment auction that day, and it was pretty close to my house. So I was like, you know what? Let me go check it out. Right? Well, why not? Boy, that day changed my life. I bought almost everything in that auction. I spent all kinds of money I didn't have. I didn't know, I didn't know how I was going to do it all, but I did it. And so I sold my first piece from that auction. I bought a mixer for $2,000. I sold it the next day for $3,500. So then I was like, man, how many golf balls it was going to take for me to make that kind of money in a day,
Uh-huh.
And from then on, I was hooked. Fast forward again, I started specializing in just restaurant equipment. I was looking for auctions. I came across PCI Auctions, and I saw that their East Coast territory was available.
Okay.
I couldn't write that check fast enough because I knew I could do it better than anybody.
Yeah.
So fast forward again, and I still own that division, but I also own the entire company.
Awesome. All right. So go backwards to when was when did you first acquire the PCI Auctions, the first division that you talked about? Or the... Probably
10 years ago or so.
What did the business look like then in terms of staffing, number of auctions you were doing, et cetera, and then fast forward to today, and what does it look like now?
Yeah. So when it started, it really was just from absolute scratch. I had to go find a warehouse, and I rented a barn on a farm. So like no heat, no AC, no bathroom, just a barn.
Yeah.
And that was where I stored my stuff to auction off.
Okay.
In the beginning. So it was just me, and I hired one or two people to help me out. I remember I already had college kids working for me.
Right.
So like I used them to kind of help to get it started and moving. And the first year I don't know, I probably did like $1 million in stuff, but I mean that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So that was with two employees maybe, and really it was like temp labor, because I only needed temps on certain days when I needed help with trucks, and like I did everything else. Like I was collecting the money, I was writing the auctions, I was sourcing the stuff, I was the one man band. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it kind of grew organically. So fast forward, and that was with 5,000 square foot of warehouse space.
Okay.
And no bathroom, right? And no internet there. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
So now we have 27 employees. We have 20,000 square foot of auction space. We're doing 8 auctions a month at least, and I mean, revenue-wise, we'll hit over 7.5 million this year in revenue.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's crazy.
Through that journey, I know you've had some pretty cool awards and accomplishments that you guys have achieved. One was the Inc. 5000.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then through that, did you get a special shout out, right? A video shout out that happened from maybe a big name in the bar.
Oh yeah,
world?
yeah.
But so talk a little bit about that. So when did that happen? How did that actually come up? Because some of those things you have to apply for, some things you're sought out for. But talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So so the Inc. 5000 thing, looking at we had just explosive growth, and when you're looking at Inc. 5000. They're looking at the last 3 years of growth, and they use that to basically calculate your growth percentage over 3 years. And they have some other requirements.
Do they do it mainly on revenue growth? Is that what they're looking at?
Revenue growth. Revenue growth, and they have some other requirements, like you need to be in business for at least 3 years or more than that. You need to have a certain level of revenue, like at least $1 million of revenue to start.
Okay.
A few things like that. But I was like, man, I crunched the numbers myself, and I was like, I qualify for this. Like, and I qualify like not on like number 5,000. I qualify like I could get there. I think I was like 2,700 in the list of 5,000 in the country, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was how I did it, and it's been awesome. In terms of the video that you're referring to, that was more of a gag that I sought out for my staff to make them laugh. Because of how well we did. That was like my Christmas gift to them. I kind of sought that out with that certain name in the bar rescuing industry. And he did a cool video for us.
He did. It was pretty cool
to give props to the staff.
Well, if he watches this, which if he doesn't, we're going to have words with Chad Harvey. But there was also we won't share what it was, but there was one of those videos, a birthday video that was done for Chad Harvey, courtesy of another member of our Vistage group, which was good times.
Pretty funny. Yeah.
Did you find that the Inc. 5000 recognition helped you then as well to continue growth, like being able to use that for marketing purposes or any branding actually provided some assistance?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it certainly gives you a level of legitimacy, and just like how you and I are members of Vistage, when I'm considering doing business with somebody and I know they're part of Vistage, like to me that kind of drops my barrier.
Yeah.
Because we just get assaulted by people wanting to do business with us in all kinds of ways and sell us all kinds of crap. I mean, like assaulted with that stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
So to me, if you're the Inc. 5000 member, or if you're a Vistage member, or if you run on EOS, like I'm way more into talking to you and doing business with you.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, I was going to go down that path. You just mentioned it, so that's perfect.
Yes.
So that kind of growth, Lone Wolf to 20-some employees, 7x in growth and revenue. That takes systems. That takes to be able to scale like that. Takes process. Takes structure.
Yeah.
And I know you're an EOS implementer and a big believer in that. But talk about maybe how you found EOS, why you think it makes sense, and then maybe why you feel like that's been as instrumental as it has been in your success.
Yeah, because it has been, for sure. So I found EOS through Vistage, actually.
Okay.
I was in a group before our group together, and there was a speaker that did a 90-minute session on EOS, maybe a 4-hour session on EOS, and how it works and kind of the structure behind it. So EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it basically gives you a structure to run your business and to systematically, essentially grow your business.
Yeah.
And also how to break through the ceiling.
Yeah.
So if you're a business owner that feels like you're hitting the ceiling, you have no time for you, and it feels like you're spinning your wheels, you probably should look into EOS, and that starts with reading the book Traction.
Yeah.
So I watched this guy's presentation. I was like, this dude is so corny, but I need him in my life.
Yeah.
Like everything he said was like, I've been looking for this, and I'm hitting the ceiling, right? Like, we in 3 years we grew like crazy, and I think our top year in the Inc. 5000 was 5 million.
Yeah.
So going from like 1.5 million to like 5 million in 3 years was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was like sloppy. It was just really grindy and really just exhausting. To get there in a way that wasn't systematic, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. And in fact, after that, my revenue went down because it wasn't systematic. It was just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So after experiencing a few down years, then I saw his presentation. I was like, okay, this is what I've been looking for, and I didn't even know I was looking for it until I saw it.
Right.
So So I hired him to be our EOS implementer. I don't self-implement, although some businesses do that.
Yeah.
If you can afford an implementer, I think it's 100% worth the investment, and we're still using him to this day. And we've been doing EOS for, I want to say, over 2 years at this point, and the growth has been explosive again, but in the right way.
Yeah.
In a sustainable way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it creates, if you follow it, it creates structure, and it creates, I think, a lot more clarity too around expectations, around responsibilities, around goal tracking, around just every part of the business. That you're always going to have the human and the emotional element of dealing with people, but when you can point back to that system and say, look, this is what we all agree on, this is what we're going to do, it certainly helps clarify a lot of things. Doesn't mean you're not going to have any trouble, but it makes things, it has a way of making things a lot smoother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By way of clarity.
Yeah.
Like, you think you're clear, but, look at Whisper Down the Lane. You know what I mean? Like, that's what running a business without EOS is like.
Yeah.
So you're saying one thing, but by the time it gets to whoever you need it to get to, it's being heard another way.
Yeah.
And so EOS is kind of like the referee to say, like, here are the rules, and just makes it so clear for everyone.
Yeah.
And my staff loves it.
Well, it gives them structure. It provides better guidance. I think I forget if it was the sheep out in the field. If they don't have a fence, you'll find they all cluster together, because even though they have this vast area in a field that they could go to, but because they don't have parameters around them where they know it's safe to explore, they'll end up just kind of staying put in one location.
Yeah.
But as soon as you put a fence around them, they go all the way. They'll explore the space. They'll get adventurous, but it's still within that space. Really, that's what you're doing, is creating those barriers of, what's acceptable to allow people to open up and not have it be so open that they're not willing to do stuff.
Right, and it also drives accountability to another level. And I don't care what people tell you, like, they want to be accountable.
Oh yeah.
But if you don't have a system of doing that, good luck.
Yeah.
You're just firefighting,
Yep. All right. Walk us through a typical auction. So how do you find restaurant equipment now to sell in general? And there's probably different avenues of it, but
Sure.
How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we are a nationwide company. We have about 8 divisions across the country, and we're growing.
Okay.
And so we're pretty well known in this industry because we're one of the biggest that do this nationwide.
Well, and you love the phrase "niches make riches," and you have hit that. I mean, that is your. Yeah. And you can't sell other things because you could sell anything.
Right, I can sell anything.
This is what we're really good at, and I'm sure that as a differentiator gets people coming to you as well.
That is 100% true. So the auction companies that are on my scale, for the most part, don't specialize in restaurant equipment like to the level that we do. Mm-hmm. And people recognize that, and our clients recognize that too. We have some of the biggest clients in this space in the U.S. period.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that we are 1,000,000% experts in this space.
Yeah.
And we do it better than anybody else.
So you find somebody who, whether it's going out of business or they're just turning over equipment or whatnot, and they need to sell stuff.
Yeah.
Are you taking inventory of all of that immediately? Is there a delay? Is there times where you're keeping it at their facility and then just dealing with shipping after the auction?
Yeah.
Anything in between?
I mean, yes, no. There's all kinds of.
Okay.
You just asked me a million questions, so let me take a moment to kind of explain what the process is like. So, someone calls us because they're going out of business, or or not, or they're changing concepts, or their lease is up and they want to walk away, mm-hmm. and they need a solution to deal with all the stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're not experts in selling their stuff. They're experts in making whatever food mm-hmm. they're making. You know what I mean? Like that's what That's what they specialize in, right? Like you do that, I will sell your stuff because I'll be much more successful than you will be, and you'll be ripping your hair out trying to hustle your stuff on Craigslist. You know what I mean? It's just you just don't want to do that, right? So they call us, and one of two things happens: either we go to their facility, we remove everything and bring it back to our warehouse to sell, or we leave it there in cases that we can leave it there.
Okay.
For example, I have a lot of school clients. So actually today we're lotting an auction for Hack. York campus.
Okay.
They've been gathering goodies for us for a while. So today we're getting that handled for them. I don't need to take their stuff back because they got plenty of space, to store it, and their space makes sense to do an on-site auction versus me bringing it back to my warehouse.
Okay. Yep.
So regardless, once we get this stuff or once it stays there, we go and catalog it. Everything gets uploaded into our system, and the auction runs for at least 10 days.
Okay.
During that time, we launch an aggressive nationwide advertising campaign. Once the auction is over, and like I said, we do 2 auctions a week just because that's how much stuff we get. Once the auction ends, buyers come to pick up. Whoever doesn't come to pick up, we offer nationwide shipping, and actually we offer international shipping too. We sell to a lot of people all around the world.
Okay.
And in doing so, it allows us to get top dollar for the stuff we sell because I'm putting it in front of the most eyeballs.
Yep.
And it allows the people that want to spend the most money to get it because I can get it to them regardless of where they are in the world.
What happens if at the end of an auction there's items that are part of the auction that haven't sold, or if there are reserves that need to get hit that you won't sell it for under something that you have to deal with? What does that look like for you then?
I don't ever do reserves. So our stuff sells because I don't have time to sit on it and sell it again. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Right. So everything we sell starts at a penny, and like I said, don't do reserves. So it's selling. Okay. So I mean, if you're talking an item that doesn't get a bid for a penny, it's like a used napkin. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, I'm also not lotting a used napkin. You know what I mean? So like, there's not a lot.
Depends on who used it.
I mean, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Listen, if there's money to be made, I will make the money. Right. But yeah. So that's not an issue because there's usually nothing left over.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's the easy way. That's by not having a reserve is how you eliminate having that. Then keep
client wants a reserve. Yeah. I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
I want to sell the stuff. I don't want to hold on to it for you.
Yeah. All right, and you talked about an aggressive nationwide marketing campaign.
Yeah.
And I know you do a lot of marketing for these. How did you figure out what works? What channels do you follow to do your advertising and marketing on to get buyers in and bidders in to buy the stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, it really means partnering with the right marketing companies.
Okay.
And so I partner with several marketing companies, but I also have an internal marketing team that does this marketing. It's all levels of social media marketing, SEO, Google marketing. It's all of that. It's all that kind of thing because that's really where our buyers are.
Okay. And how do you figure out what you're willing to spend on a marketing campaign on an auction?
So we have it down to a science at this point.
Okay.
When an auction is listed, I give an estimate of what the stuff will sell for.
Okay.
And based on that's how we allocate our marketing dollars.
Okay.
And we have a minimum that we'll do for any auction.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
But I mean, to get there, it's years of trial and error and fine tuning, and marketing is always changing. I hate marketing. Can I just tell you, I hate marketing. I suck at it. I'm just not. Power to my marketing team. I love you because I hate marketing, and I've told them this. They know this. So it's always changing too.
Yeah, right.
So as soon as they're like, "Hey, I think I figured it out,"
right?
Don't get complacent because Google will change their mind tomorrow, and then we got to rework all kinds of things.
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
Well, part of that though is, and I think my guess is some of this is just related to the fact that you were the only individual for the longest time, or not the longest time, but for a while, which just meant you learned the business inside and out.
Oh, yeah.
So to be able to do what you said, which was, we're we're really building budgets around an outcome we don't know if it's going to happen.
Right.
But I've got to have confidence in what the outcome is going to be to be able to set that, which means I've got to know my business. I've got to know this and be confident in that. And that just comes from experience and comes from being in there doing it every day.
Yeah.
But it also is a risk. You're taking a risk because you don't have those reserves or you don't have set minimums.
Every auction is a risk.
Yeah.
Every auction is a risk. Yeah.
So, what are and you don't buy the equipment from people, or do you?
I mean, you usually not. If I do, I'm giving you pennies on the dollar.
Right.
Right. It makes way more sense for you to consign it with us.
Right. So
then
you're selling
working
it,
in your
you're
favor.
taking a percentage of what the what the sales price is, the total price.
The more money you make, the more money we make.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that makes sense.
I mean, it's a great model for you too, because that helps hedge your risk a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Are you on the hook for a certain anything for them in your contracts? Okay.
No.
So if nothing sells,
But everything sells.
well, right.
You know, that's the thing.
But if it doesn't sell at what they thought, but it is what it is.
But see, and my track record and what stuff has sold for kind of show them how we do it.
Yeah.
So we're able to overcome anything like that just because of that piece of it. And then, in terms of an auction, I'm not just selling one item for my clients, right? I'm selling the whole place, and I'm doing it in an individual way. Mm-hmm. So there are some lots that are not going to go for the price that you want it to go for. That is just fact.
Yeah.
Right? There's going to be some really good deals.
Yeah.
But there are some lots that are going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
And really, at the end of the day, it's about what everything sells for collectively.
Exactly.
Not about the one thing that didn't hit the number that you wanted. Because the other thing sold for above retail, and you're thrilled.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. All right. You have, because of all that experience, I'm sure there's been some challenges that you have had to deal with in your growth in particular.
Sure.
What are some of your biggest lessons you've learned in just going through that are just going to continue to stick with you? And it could be whether it's from mistakes that were made or maybe big wins that you didn't see coming because of something happened.
I mean, let's start with EOS for a second. If I would have started that 10 years ago, I don't even know it was a thing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
My business would be in a much different place than it is today.
Yeah.
Right? So like in terms of that stuff, it's just all of that is so important. And I've learned a lot of people stuff. Mm-hmm. In the beginning of my business, you ask people that have been with me for a long time, I was a lot more of a gruff, boss than I am now. Like because of how much growth happened with me personally and with my people, like they're my most important asset in terms of what we do.
Yeah.
And I love all of them to death. and I really try hard. Like EOS kind of teaches me at least that I'm my biggest problem. Mm-hmm. I'm the cog in the machine that's holding everything up. And if I just get out of the way, which is hard, right? Because it's my baby. Yeah. But if I just get out of the way, everything's gonna be fine. And it's gonna be better than what I can do. Because like that, I was really the limiting factor of my growth, right? And you really have to find people that are better than you in all things. Marketing, right? I hate marketing, right? So let me find people that are great at marketing and love it. Yeah. And and also that align with our core values. And it's gonna be a game changer every time. Yeah. All right. What about the biggest mistake you've made? Yeah. I think it's probably. I think it goes back to people, right? My biggest mistake that I've made, I think, is the way that I hired and fired, right? And and it all kind of comes back to the core values thing. But like, if someone's just not the right fit, boy, we try so hard to fit that square peg in that circular hole, right? But like, so I think the biggest mistake is not getting rid of people that aren't truly about rowing in the same direction that we are. Yeah. Fast and immediately, right? Yeah. We hang on to those people for so long and we try all this stuff, and we spend so much energy that we don't even realize. And then something happens at some point, and you part ways with that person, and then you're like, oh my God, my business is so much better off without that person.
Yeah.
And it is nothing against those people.
Right.
It's just they're just not the right fit for us and for me, you know? And, you know, but like deep down, you knew that years ago.
Right.
So I think my biggest mistake is not getting rid of the people that aren't the right fit immediately.
Yeah. And we make excuses for why we don't.
Right.
Or,
And, you know, and
yeah.
it still happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's so hard to do. But,
yeah.
But you got to really be disciplined to do it.
Yeah. I think you're probably a lot like me in some of this, but I have a tough time answering that question myself because I'm not one that looks back a lot and you know, regrets things, because I think everything, whether it was a mistake or not, is an opportunity to learn and grow and change and not repeat, you know, things that have happened. And everything happens for a reason. And I think it's not what happens, but how you respond to things that happen that you know, make a situation.
Yeah.
That's a good one though. All right. So one of the things I like to do as we kind of wrap, coming towards the end of a show, is fast forwarding. So if we look at Jared and we look at PCI in, let's say, 5 years, what do you see the next 5 years for PCI Auction Group? What would you have to have happen at that, you know, after 5 years for you to look back and say, yeah, these last 5 years were a success, were everything I wanted it to be and more?
So I'm gonna change your question.
Okay.
Actually, because I can do that.
Yeah, you can.
So I'm gonna actually make it 7 years instead of 5 years.
All right.
Okay. So part of EOS is setting a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And our first BHAG that we set was 7.5 by 2025.
Okay.
Okay. That's 7.5 million in revenue by 2025. It's 2023. I'm on track to hit that this year.
Yeah.
And looking at the numbers and I mean, you know, look, auctions are a gamble, essentially. I mean, for us, it's a very calculated gamble because we're really good at what we do.
Yeah.
Right? But like, I don't know what I'm going to be selling in 2 months.
Yeah,
you know, I
right.
just don't know.
Yeah.
But we've been able to consistently kind of grow and do that. So because of that, we're projecting to hit that in 2023.
Yeah.
So we had to set a new BHAG. So we did. So our new BHAG is 20 by 30.
Okay.
So that's 20 million in revenue by 2030.
Okay.
And what that means for us is completely reinventing everything.
Yeah.
Right? Taking a business from a $7.5 million business to a $20 million business is no joke.
Yeah.
And is not easy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I haven't done it. But I'm just going by what Chad Harvey tells me.
Yeah.
Copyright Chad Harvey.
Yeah. Do you have an idea of what maybe the business would look like in terms of people, locations? Like, to do that, would you have to then be outside of Central PA only, or how many people do you think you'd need?
So, and I'm just talking about my operation in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I'm not talking about PCI Auction Group corporate.
Right.
They have different goals.
Sure.
Right. But in my Pennsylvania operation, I mean, we're talking probably 35 full-time employees at least, if not more. We're talking more space, whether I build another warehouse, whether I buy more locations to house that, but also in a way that doesn't kill me cost-wise.
Right.
Like, it's important to be kind of centralized to your stuff.
Yep.
It's going to mean more automation.
Yeah.
It's going to mean a more robust kind of training for all my staff. It's going to mean, and you know, I'm like mentally reading off of my VTO, because this is all part of EOS, VTO, Vision Traction Organizer.
Yep.
And that's where we put kind of everything all together to really get that, you know, get your 3-year picture and beyond sort of thing. So we have some goals in place, and what I just recited to you is a lot of what those goals are. Some of those other things are expanding into other niches too. Okay. So like, I'm really, with my school background, I'm really good at school auctions, right?
Yeah.
As evidenced by Hack, who actually has an auctioneering program. So they have access to thousands of auctioneers, and I'm honored that they keep choosing me.
That's cool.
To sell their stuff. Yeah. But really getting our name out there to more schools, doing a lot more in terms of the education field.
Yeah.
So being the king of school auctions, that's literally what it says on my VTO, school auction king.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so it's gonna be that. It's gonna be really developing more and really kind of taking things to the next level in all capacities and all facets. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't necessarily mean, that's over double what we're doing now. It doesn't mean I'm going to need 50 employees either.
Right.
I don't want to necessarily sell twice the amount of stuff. I want to sell more, but I want to sell better stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to sell more better stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
In some other niches, including obviously restaurant equipment.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to 2027 or 2028 where we get to do another one of these interviews and then Jared saying, hey, we had to write a new BHAG and it's 200 by 2035. And
Right,
say,
yeah,
wow,
right.
look at that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that'd be
Awesome.
sweet.
That would be sweet.
Yeah.
Would be sweet. I look forward to it.
Me too.
Dude, thanks for coming on the show. This has
Thank
been
you for having
awesome.
me.
I know it's been entertaining and you've given a lot of good information.
Yeah.
If anybody is out there watching, whether they're in a school system, restaurant, and they need to look you up, and for whatever reason they haven't found you yet, what's the best way for them to find out about your organization?
So you want to check out PCIAuctions.com. That's Paul Charlie India, auctions.com. And check out the East Coast Division. We are located in Mannheim, and all of our contact info is there. And important to say that so PCI stands for Personal Commercial Industrial.
Okay.
Yeah, fun fact.
Yeah.
So we can really sell anything, but we really focus on that commercial industrial space. So I think that's where you'll see us grow, along with school districts. They're kind of their own, schools, university systems, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're kind of in their own world.
Awesome.
But yeah, that is where we're at. Check us out.
Yeah, please do. We'll have information in our show notes and our posts on how to access their website and more information about their organization. But again, Jared, this has been a blast. I hope you all have enjoyed this. If you have any of those needs, or if maybe you're a parent that has a child who's looking at maybe selling some golf balls and they need a mentor, sounds like this guy might be the guy as well.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Many options out there,
Sure.
but again, we hope you all enjoyed it. That does it for this episode. We'll see you next week on another episode of the Born Podcast. Thanks, everyone.